And we are live. What is up, everybody? Aaron the dog back with a special, as you can tell from the background and the little nightly glow, nighttime edition of the LFA 155 betting breakdown with a very special guest, an OG of the regional breakdown game. He's been away for a while. We both agreed not to wear hats tonight. We only wear hats when we're together. Lucky Locks, I'm so happy to be breaking down an LFA with you at any time of the day or night. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm glad to be back. I miss chopping it up for sure. When you're talking to somebody like pretty much every week, you miss having that little time to chop it up, and I'm happy to be back. Shout out to
Yeah.
Sub and Nick in the chat. Good to be back.
Yep. Kelly.
And seeing some support early here, and yeah, we had a good LFA card here. I'm on vacation. I'm not working. I had time to run all the tape. So excited to get into this one and talk about some fights tonight.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Always taping the LFA, and I always prefer to talk with somebody. And as you've seen, I haven't been talking with anybody the last few weeks, last few months, honestly. And there's a reason for that, and it's because it's hard to find people who want to make a commitment like Lucky. I will gas him up all day. Lucky Locks. He might have stepped away from YouTube because real life does matter, but when he does step up to the game, you can guarantee he's going to bring it. Hopefully, this is my segue into the first fight here. And by the way, I am on my desktop, so laptop got left on my Metro. So bunch of ads and shit because I never use this desktop. So apologies, everybody. But we do what we do. But the first fight of the night should be a good one. Great return of Big Tuna, but also the great return of Lucky Locks, of course. So Joe Tyler taking on Ben Parrish here. 4-0 Joe Taylor, son of a legend. And we'll get into that here shortly. But Ben Parrish, Big Tuna, we should know him at this point. He is only 30 years old, 5-2. Had a 1-1 stint with Bellator. Pretty much got the short end of the stick, and calling it that is just not even generous. Got fed to Christian Edwards, who was supposed to be this great prospect, knocked him out in 40 seconds. And then he got fed to another, probably more legitimate prospect in Sullivan Colley, who's the next Ryan Bader, basically, except with a little better hands. So that's very good. And he got ground pound in the first round. It wasn't a bad fight at all. He's been off since the beginning of last year. So he's been off over a year because he has a real job. It kind of sucks. I think he's still working like an air traffic control type of job. But he does train all the time down in Mississippi. He's been with Hanagai and whatnot. Joe Taylor here, son of a legend, 38 years old. Straight up, he's a boxer. So this is gonna, kickboxer. He's just gonna be a stand-up fight here. He hasn't fought in MMA since 2018 against a 2-1 unknown fighter. Couldn't find any tape on his MMA game. But any thoughts you have, Lucky, on this one? For me, it's Ben Parrish, but that is honestly pretty blind on the MMA game of the 38-year-old kickboxer here.
Yeah, so this fight, Joe Taylor got some glory kickboxing experience. He was the kickboxing champ at GFF. I'm not really sure how good or bad of a promotion that is. I hadn't heard of it before this. Looks like a really good athlete, right? Like he's in really good shape, but 38 years old. So definitely not a spring chicken in the game, and really hasn't done a ton of MMA, right? He has like 4 fights. He beat 2 sub 500 guys in 2016 and 17. Fought again the next year and spent the next 2 years kickboxing. He won the King of the Cage middleweight belt in 2021, but hasn't fought MMA since. And he, you said it, he hasn't really beat anyone particularly good. One thing I will say, though, is we're in Niagara Falls this Friday. I'm pretty sure he's from upstate New York, so going to be a home game for him, I think. And I believe he has had success in Niagara Falls before in kickboxing. So not that really means something all the time, but just something to note. On the Ben Parrish side, to be honest, he's getting a pretty big step down in competition here.
Huge step down.
He's
and athleticism.
Yeah.
I got to assume, unless this is a 38-year-old freak athlete all of a sudden, but
yeah. I mean, he has much better experience having KO'd Christian Edwards. I mean, I'm not sure how repeatable that is, but I mean, that's a big win. It's the best win of either of the resumes here for
Yeah.
sure. And fighting Sullivan Collie is also very good experience. It didn't go that well for him, but good experience to have. And I mean, he's lined almost the same as he was against Sullivan Collie here, which
Right.
I just like don't understand at all, because Sullivan Collie would be a gigantic favorite against Joe Taylor, I think.
Of course.
And I think that Parrish has the grappling upside here. He's submitted his opponent in 4 out of his 5 wins. He's finished every single win that he has. I think they got this line wrong, to be honest.
This is a classic.
Yeah, this is a step down for Parrish. This is a step up for Taylor. I mean, Taylor hasn't fought MMA in like 2 years. So if I got to pick a side here, I think it's clear you got to go take the plus money on Ben Parrish. And I
you
think,
know you have to pick a side on this show because
of course,
yeah,
of course.
exactly. So that's a good start to the LFA reunion here. Is a dog that neither of us have talked about throughout the week. We don't like talk on Twitter and like make our picks ahead of time or anything like that. So not saying it's guaranteed. I'm just saying we have a pretty good run on LFA dogs, and I will be betting at plus 130 Ben Parrish. I think that this spot is straight up wrong. I get it. Ben Parrish is not a full-time fighter. That's a lot of fighters at this stage in the game. So I'm not exactly worried about that. I also like that Ben has kind of gone into enemy territory, whether it's promotional or regional or location wise, and he kind of thrives on that. I think he didn't take this fight not aware that this guy's from New York. I mean, it's pretty. So I'm looking forward to this. I do think this is a classic why you don't just pay attention to UFC and pay attention to the dogs and all of the promotions. We got Cage Warriors this week as well. PFL Europe if you're sick, and then UFC. So, there's a lot of MMA this week, but this is a dog I like, and it's the first dog we're talking about. So looking forward to that fight. I don't think it goes to the judges, so the hometown is not as much of a worry for me in this spot. So, yeah, it's really about who this Ben Taylor guy is in MMA, because I only had to watch him in kickboxing, and we've seen a lot of kickboxers look good in kickboxing, not transfer there. So should be a good fight. Next fight, also good. Honestly, the whole card's really, really good. This is one of the best on the card potentially. Featherweight Brazilians, Barbosa, Rafael Barbosa, and Myron Santos here. Hopefully Santos can have a better showing than he did against Dan Arguda. We're just going to chalk that up to Dan Arguda's kind of wrestling experience, and just, I mean, Santos had his moments, but I mean, overall, just looked a little overwhelmed. Also only 22 years old, still really, really young. Hopefully got some experience from that. It was about a year ago, and then he's done some submission grappling, and then he missed weight. Don't like to see that. And then withdrew a few times prior related to weight type of issues. So that's another issue, kind of worried about coming into this one, but really good striker when he can stay on the feet. Getting him off the feet is kind of the goal here. With regards to Barbosa, he's also been off for a while. He's also very young at 25. But 2021, last time he's fought over with Future a few times, had a really good finish of Osias Jr. Been in the LFA back with Emmers back in the day. He held his own in there. Emmers just, very good regional guy. Obviously on the UFC side, he's been much more inconsistent. I do think Barbosa is the more well-rounded guy, but I just think that Santos is a more kind of potentially rapidly improving guy. I don't have any interest in betting this fight. This is a great fight to just sit back and watch, honestly. But Barbosa is going to try to get this to the ground. If Santos hasn't shored up the wrestling, I kind of think he runs into the same problems in a 3-round fight here. Where I'm going with, just in watching this, I'll go with Barbosa. But it's just a slight lean to Barbosa. I'm not really married to either side. Really good fight. And then, yeah, Lou, you never were on LFA, so don't worry. I've replaced nobody. Lucky, what's your thoughts? No one replaces Lucky.
I'm already taking people's jobs, I
Not
guess.
at all. Not at all.
So we got Rafael Barbosa and Myron Santos here. Yeah, you said it, man. It's a good fight at featherweight. Barbosa is a good fighter. He's 2-1 in the LFA, 3-2 in future in Brazil. I mean, he's got good experience, right? Like he's already main evented LFA twice before. He's fought for titles in future FC. And he fought, like you said, Jamal Emmers. He's been in there with Elismar Lima, like pretty good guys. He's not quite on those guys' level, in my opinion, at least from what I've seen so far. Obviously, he's been off for a while and he's still young. Maybe he's improved quite a bit, but he is a good regional fighter. And then Myron Santos is extremely young and just has so many fights for how young he is. I mean, what is he, 22, and he has 12-1.
Yep.
So he takes tough fights, man, too, lately. I mean, Dan Argueta is not an easy fight when you're 22 years old. So, and he was just too much for Santos last time. And I mean, like, I'm just going to chalk that up to that's like a grown man on the cusp of going to the next level. And obviously he went to the UFC after that versus a kid who's kind of just getting his feet wet. But I'm very impressed with Myron Santos for how young he is at this point. He's a very good striker. Wrestling, obviously, the wrestling of Dan Argueta was just too much in that last one, but I'm very confident that he has a bright future. I think that if either one of these guys are going to end up in the UFC one day, I think it will be Myron Santos. He opened up minus 200 here. That was definitely wide. It's now basically down to a pick 'em. This is a really tough one to pick, man. And you said it. I do not want to be betting money on this. I feel that Barbosa maybe has some grappling upside, but to be honest with you, I don't know who's going to win here. We got to pick a side, though. I'm going to slightly lean Santos.
There we go.
I think he maybe has a little bit more potential, and like you said, maybe
it's kind of funny. Sometimes like the best fights have the worst breakdowns, like because like we're able to break down. Like I think this is going to be a great fight, but it's so close sometimes that it's like you can only say so much that a fight's very close. Barbosa's been off for several years now, so we really don't know. But he's still 25 years old. Again, when you're off for several years and you're from Brazil, I look at that as a positive at this point. With how many times we've seen these guys who are in their early 20s just decide at like 19 to be like, I'm going to go and not work for 3 years and just come out a super mutant when they come back and make the UFC. You see it over and over again. So like early 20s Brazilians who are missing time, who aren't out for major injuries or even are out for major injuries, like they're on my list. So Barbosa's like getting money steamed on him at this point because he's a minus 140 favorite now. You can get Santos at plus 110. So again, I think this is probably one that's going to bounce in and out. It should be a pick 'em at this point. Barbosa with the grappling, but he's not like an insane grappler, like to where it's just like, and Santos knows that's the part of his game he has to work on more than anything. He has taken some grappling, and Barbosa doesn't have the wrestling of Argueta, not even close. So, should be a good fight. Good disagreement as well. So we got a dog agreement to start the card. We got a disagreement on a super close Brazilian LFA fight. We are back, Lucky, fully back. We haven't missed a step here. And now we get one of our boys. So watch out. We've been wrong on this guy before on the channel. It's okay. I think a lot of people were wrong that day. Cody Davis makes his return against Joseph or Say Camacho, whatever you want to call him. Either way, Jose Camacho, he's been called a bunch of different things in his fights. I'm going to just go with Joseph Camacho for now, though. This is a really good fight. I'm really excited about this fight. Got to go back and watch Camacho, Sexy Say, as he's known. Got to go back and watch him against Alden Correa earlier today. Alden Correa, who was being cornered by Killer B, who's getting ready to bare knuckle box, I think, coming up here in a little bit. But either way, questionable decision making by Alden Correa throughout that fight. He just looked like kind of his first MMA loss kind of got to him in a lot of ways. He had a huge grappling advantage in that fight with Camacho. Just made a lot of mistakes in a lot of spots where I think he could have gotten finishes even. But Camacho, really active on the feet, really, kind of exciting, throws a lot of kicks, puts a lot of pressure on his opponent. I think he can, drown his opponent with pace as well in a lot of spots. But for me, this is kind of a tough spot for me to favor him against an opponent in Cody Davis, who we're huge fans of. Both these guys are very, very small, 5'5", 5'3". So both these guys are used to being the smaller guy. But Davis also drowns his opponent with pace. Uses really high IQ as well, and uses the grappling when it is the advantage. I think he's going to be much smarter when he gets Camacho to the bad spots that Correa got his opponent to. Correa, kind of a busted prospect at this point, but he did have really high level skills at one. He kind of reminds me of like is that Mike Nichols? Was that his name? Or no, Mike Kimball. Mike Kimball back in the day on Bellator. That guy was like for the moon. Then he lost a couple times, and like I think he's probably got a sub 500 MMA record at this point. Anyways, got on a rant here, but I do really like how Cody's rebounded from that Mark Kilmako loss. Mark Kilmako now in the UFC. I think Cody Davis is not far behind him still. I'm not shaking on my Cody Davis belief. Great amateur experience as well. I like that he got his business done very quickly against a very low level of opponent in Prado. I like that he didn't go multiple rounds there. He showed that he does have that kind of killer instinct and high IQ. So I'm trusting in my boy to break another undefeated record here. Well, not another undefeated record, I should say, but another high record. But this is his first undefeated record. Cody Davis here I'm going to say by submission. I'll say round 2.
Yeah, this should be a fun fight. Cody Davis, Joseph Camacho, flyweight fight here. LFA flyweight division always has strong prospects, and this is no exception. Cody Davis is a very good fighter. He has good wins. He lost his undefeated record against Mark Climaco, who I want to say has been signed by the UFC, unless I am imagining that. Okay.
Yeah, he did.
And so, Davis took a loss there, but bounced back in his next fight with a round 1 submission. And he is drawing a tough matchup in Camacho, who I got Camacho's last fight wrong against Correa. I was pretty high on Alden Correa beforehand, but, it turns out he's a guy I think we need to, pump the brakes on a little bit. He's still very young. He's still developing. And, his last 2 fights were pretty big steps up for him. That was a great win for Camacho, but even still, I don't think that's enough for me to want to pick him against Cody Davis. Davis has very good process, great cardio, and he's solid in all areas, controls the distance very well. You mentioned the pace is very high in Cody Davis fights, and if he can't get his grappling going and ends up being stuck on the feet, maybe it could get a little hairy, but I still think Davis is just a more well-rounded guy. He's got some skills. I got to side with Cody Davis here. I think he's the better prospect. It's a good fight. I don't know how enthusiastic I am about the minus 275, minus 300 type of price tag, but I think it potentially could look okay in hindsight if he comes out and really performs here. I'm not sure if I'm going to pay to find out, but yeah, I got Cody Davis taking this one.
I think that I'm going to do a Cage Warriors breakdown later in the week, and I am going to find someone to pair Cody Davis up from there. He's fought in Cage Warriors California before. I'll make it like because honestly, there's no one really on the LFA on the rest of this card who I can find to pair him up with either. When I'm no spoilers, but yeah. So Cody Davis minus 265. It feels like an accurate line, but it's a tough line. And again, Camacho, he wins this one. I mean, he could be very impressive. And there is definitely a world where I could see getting Cody Davis on his back foot is how you kind of beat him. Again, Camacho did it, and that's how Camacho wins a lot of his fights. I mean, if I'm judging off his last performance in the LFA, which is the only one I was able to fully, get a tape on, and just overall kind of the gauge I got on him as a fighter, I feel like the way he beats Cody Davis here is by taking control of the center and putting a pace on him. So that seems pretty hard to do against Cody. So I do like Cody as well here. Minus 265 is a rough tag. I am doing this LFA slightly early in the week. So for the next card, next fight on the card, I'm actually going to have Lucky lead it off here because I was not able to tape Yemi, but I did watch his last fight live. But I'm going to let Lucky lead this one off. He's, we got a Canadian here anyways. So, Canada.
Yes, we got Adam Asenza versus Yemi Odewole, and this should be a pretty fun fight. Asenza is very experienced at 35, made his LFA debut on a 6-fight win streak, and drew a tough opponent in Junior Mello as the main event of the card. I picked against him there, and he ended up prove me right. He's a solid fighter with pretty good stand-up, but I do worry about him on the ground a little bit. Also, the durability, I think, is pretty suspect. He's been finished in 6 out of his 7 losses. Submission defense, I also think, is a bit suspect too. So he's fighting in Niagara, close to the border. I know a lot of these guys that Niagara top team like to be on these Niagara Falls LFA cards, and I think that Adam Asenza is training at Niagara top team, or at least getting some time there. I could be wrong. I know we have another fighter coming up that does for sure. But one thing to note is that Odawale has lost to a good Niagara top team product before, so I'm pretty sure Asenza does do some training there. So if I'm right about that, he could maybe have a good game plan to try to get a leg up on this one. Odawale, though, is a solid fighter as well. He did really well in his tenure in NFC. In the Georgia area, going 3-0. And we did see him once in LFA where he lost to Chris Brown, who's a good fighter, really no shame in that one. And Odawale also does have a really good win over Mark Martin. That was pretty early in Martin's career, but definitely a good win to have there. He's an experienced guy, also had 10 amateur fights before turning pro. So he was knocked out in his last fight against Landon Quinones of Sanford, or Kill Cliff MMA now. And he was KO'd in one of his other losses as well, but I still think he's a little bit more sturdy than Asenza is, and I think that this fight isn't going to go the distance. And I don't know, man. I just feel like I've seen Asenza get put away too many times to want to bet him in a fight that I think is finishing inside the distance. So am I going to be betting Odawale at like Pick'em or close to that? No. If he was like a decent sized dog, I'd probably take a shot, but it's going to be a pass for me. But if I had to pick a side, I guess Odawale inside the distance.
Yeah, for this one, my initial lean is Odawale. I'm not picking Adam Asenza as he gets older, and especially after that Junior Mello fight, which caused me to trust Junior Mello way too much leaning forward, which maybe I'm holding it against him. I'm not going to bet this fight. I just can't rely on Yemi. I need to go back and watch his last fight anyways, but I do remember his chin reminding me of some other fighters' chins that I don't really trust. So pass all the way around on this one as well, but I would lean Yemi inside the distance. But probably goes decision to Adam, that means. But no bet from us either. And not, this is kind of like the middle of the card, not as much I'm looking forward to. Hopefully I'm wrong on that card fight, and hopefully I'm wrong on this fight, because this is not a fight I'm super pumped to see. Maybe they have the order wrong currently, and like this is a Tapology job where like this is like leading off the prelims. But right now, Ashley Nichols makes her return from that amazing was that a strawweight performance debut against or fight against Amarine?
Yeah, strawweight.
Okay,
Yep.
a title fight, 5 rounds. Went one round because she got her arm nearly broken.
Not that it went 5 rounds, but it was scheduled for that.
Amarine in the UFC now for all sorts of reasons, including that she can fight. Jamie Colleen Miller, a decision machine, win or loss at times. 37 versus 36, so we got a combined 74 plus years here. She lost to Giovanna Canuto last time out. Honestly, it's just like this is not a fight I'm looking to really tape that heavily. I'm not going to bet this fight in any world. Ashley Nichols is a huge favorite. Gross. Like, I guess you should trust her to get it done. This is probably going to be a stand-up fight. Hopefully Nichols shows that she still has finishing ability, because otherwise this goes the distance. Yeah, what's there to say? Like, I guess if you're into betting low-level women's MMA dogs lately, you're making some huge money. Shout out to Veronica Hardy and many others. But yeah, I mean, do you have a hot take here, or did you get something? It's just pass all the way around. Yeah, but give me Nichols by finish, I hope.
Yeah, I mean, you know me, man. I always have something to say. This isn't the most exciting fight on the card, I wouldn't say. Nichols, though, this is the fighter I was talking about. She does train at Niagara top team. So this is, potentially a home game. Maybe she has some people coming over the border to watch. She's 4-4. I mean, that record is a little bit better than it looks, given that all 4 of her losses are to very tough fighters. I mean, Randa Marcos, Jacobson, Mallory Martin, Jacqueline Amorian, which was her most recent fight for a title. 3 out of 4 of those women went to the UFC. She also has a win over Hillary Rose. It's a pretty decent regional win as far as regional strawweights go. She has Thai boxing experience, kickboxing experience, has some fights in Glory. She is 36 and still is the younger fighter here somehow. She's a good striker. She's good in the clinch. She's going to have a size advantage here. Jamie Colleen Miller, on the other hand, Henzo Gracie Philly product. So pretty good gym. She's 37. She's 5-4. Her record is also a little bit better than it seems. Her losses are Danielle Taylor, Miranda Granger, Macy Barber, and Giovanna Canuto. And 3 or 4 of them went to the UFC, just like Nichols' losses. And I wouldn't be that surprised if Canuto ends up there too, because she's looking pretty good on the regionals right now. And Miller actually was the only fighter to go the full 15 with Canuto. She's been on Contender Series twice. She's 1-1, finished Tiffany Masters with an armbar. I think that this is a pretty close fight, but I got to go with Ashley Nichols here. I mean, she's closer to home. I think she's going to be the better striker. She has the size, and her takedown defense is decent. I definitely would be worried if it does hit the mat because I know Henzo Gracie Philly has lots of good grapplers over there, but I got to go with Ashley Nichols here. Am I going to be laying minus 260? I mean, come on. No,
she was minus 150. That was correct.
Yeah, but I mean, now it's just like, I mean, you got to pass on this one. I don't know why you would want to be betting any money of real substance on this one. But give me Ashley Nichols.
All right, that's fair enough. Minus 260 is insane. I'm still not betting Jamie Colleen Miller. Speaking of fighters, I'm not betting, not to steal stubborn Mick here, but Solomon Renfro, he's on that list of fighters I'm never betting. Glacio Ilazario on the list of fighters I'm not ever betting against after what he did to me and our boy, Mr. Starks. So, like, this fight is a whole bunch of, like, trying to trap me into betting Glacio. I'm, like, almost too emotional, really, to bet this fight because I fade corners that Solomon Renfro is in. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't trust this guy mentally. He's very, very not sound in there. He's a very good athlete, but he also kind of has T-Rex arms, if I'm being honest. Like, he looks like he's a weight class or two too high. And, like, he'll have a great moment, and then the rest of the fight, you'll just be like, what are you doing? Like, he's had great moments against so many good fighters, including in, a few in the UFC. But you can never forget what Fugit did to him. And Fugit took its soul. Fugit, has looked very good. It made money. I made money on him in the UFC recently as well. No shame there. But what Fugit did to him as, just like something I don't know if you recover from. That being said, Glacio Ilazario, 35 years old now. He is 10-7 because of that win over William Starks. That feels like it was just yesterday. It was over a year ago. It was last January, a day that will live in infamy. A very clear unanimous decision for the plus 500 dog in that fight in Glacio Ilazario. So other than that, he's lost to a lot of really good fighters lately. Mostly been put away by them. Like Ismail Bonfim, he was injured against Izquierdo. Not a bad guy in the regional scene either. Aguilera went to a decision. Good guy there. Went into UFC. Chris Brown about to have a chance as well. Slam there, but it was really a brutal finish. Aaron McKenzie. So obviously Ilazario been in there with a much better level of competition. Solomon Renfro is just I don't really trust him, man. I don't care that he's won his last couple of fights either. I watched the fight with Izziera Ortiz, super unimpressive guy with Icon, pretty much handpicked for a guy like Renfro here. I think Glacio has been there, done that, and I think he's going to kind of survive the early Solomon storm and find some way to eke out a decision. Am I going to be betting this heavy? No, but do I have to bet heavy at this price? No. So at this point, it's fade Solomon Renfro against anybody who's got any semblance of a game I respect. And Glacio beat William Starks. So he's, I don't think that was a fluke performance either. It was a pretty solid decision there. Like in William Starks, I rate much better than Renfro. So maybe I'm making a trap mistake here. Talk me off of it, Lucky.
Yeah, so let me just preface this by saying I will not be betting Sullivan Renfro here. However, I feel like this is his fight, man. I mean, he's had his ups and downs. He got back on track with a 2-fight win streak. He's from a nearby city in Buffalo. He's training there. I think the crowd's going to be filled with Renfro fans, and I think he's getting one of the more favorable matchups that he could get currently in the LFA. Elysiario, I mean, you got to give him credit for beating Will Stark. That's a big win. He was on a 3-fight losing streak coming in there. He was a giant underdog. He pulled it off. Before that, you mentioned the losing streak. I mean, McKenzie, Chris Brown, Christian Aguilera, those are good guys. I think Renfro is around the level of some of those guys, and I feel like it's Renfro's fight to lose. But I mean, you're not going to catch me with a ticket on this guy. But if I have to pick it, I'm gonna pick Renfro by knockout. But I mean, yeah, like I'm not betting this guy. And if you want to take a shot on the dog, I'm not going to stand in your way. I'm not going to criticize that.
Dude, it's plus 325.
Good price. I know.
Yeah, I'm not putting a big amount on it, but I am betting Glacio. And I don't care if he gets beat in 2 minutes. I'll feel worse if Renfro puts on a clinic to a decision than a 2-minute like starching. If he starches him, yes, that's what he's supposed to do and like what I'm expecting. If he puts on a clinic and he's like, oh my God, I've never seen Renfro look so sharp, then I'm not going to know how to break him down moving forward. If he knocks out Glacio, whatever. But plus 325, I'm a little bit reckless. Yes, I'm going to bet Glacio because I want to enjoy the fight a little bit and not a heavy bet at plus 325. But moving on to the main event. What up, 2 cents? Good to see you there, guys. Yeah, I know he does not have that reach. You just watch him fight. He clearly has, maybe not 62-inch reach, but close. All right, main event time. This is another fight here that I think is very, very close. I'm really excited to watch this one. I've really liked what I've seen out of Rafael do Nascimento. Lately, he's made me quite a bit of money in his LFA run so far, putting away Justin Wetzel in what was Justin Weitzel? Is it? Yeah, Wetzel Pretzel. In his last fight there, Wetzel was coming in, pretty overconfident in that fight, and Nascimento kind of, survived the early storm and put away in that second round. Really impressive, showing that the striking's coming along. He's got legitimate jiu-jitsu, beat Marcus McGee to break that undefeated record. That was a very nice cash for us. I think we both agreed on that one leading into that, if I remember correctly. But McGee obviously has taken a big step down recently, but, maybe he'll come back. And then the win over Wetzel, as I said. So good run so far. Jarrell Hodge, obviously known for the boxing. Very, very good on the feet. He is well-rounded, though. He's got good jiu-jitsu as well. But going back and forth between MMA and boxing, never like my favorite thing in the world, but I do think he's, fairly well-rounded in both regards. I think in this fight, he's going to look to keep it on the feet, kind of put on a more even pace. It is 5 rounds because it is a championship fight here. So I do think that favors Hodge in some ways. I just don't know enough about how Nascimento is going to respond to the 5 rounds. He does kind of seem like a guy who puts a lot into all of his kind of efforts. That's why he gets a lot of finishes, but that could work against him here. Yeah, I've been back and forth on this one. I'm going to edge towards Hodge, actually, because I do like that. I do like that, for one, he is, taking this fight in, gonna, I think, have just the edge in the cardio. I just think it's going to be very, very close. I think that for me, Nascimento is a clever sub kind of early threat in the first couple of rounds, but I'm kind of curious to see how this fight progresses. What are your thoughts on this one, Lucky?
This is a good fight, man. I'm looking forward to watching this. We got the 135-pound vacant belt on the line here. We got Do Nascimento, Rafael Militia, and he's a really good fighter, and he's basically undefeated. His only loss was a disqualification.
Mhm.
I think he kicked like a grounded opponent in the head or something in that fight.
Yep.
And he fought basically all random guys with bad records before coming to the LFA, and there was not a ton of tape on him. I remember it was really tough to find tape, and you had to look up like Rafael Militia instead of
Yep.
his
His
actual
nickname.
last name to
Classic
find anything on him.
Brazilians.
Yeah, classic Brazilian regional scene behavior there. And he had a tough matchup when he came into to LFA with Marcus McGee, who was a main training partner of Sean O'Malley, and he rear naked chokes him in the first round. And then he comes up against another really tough guy in Justin Wetzel and KOs him. So man, like this guy is legit. He's going to be fighting Jarrell Hodge here, he's 9-3. He's got really good experience. He's fought guys like Tony Gravely and Saiduku Kakramanov. Absolute disgrace that Kakramanov was cut from the UFC. I couldn't believe that because he's better than a lot of the bantamweights in the UFC. But that's
that's not what the UFC cares about.
No, clearly not. Because I don't know how they let that guy go, but it is what it is. That's not what we're here to talk about. Mm-hmm. He went to decision with both of those guys, so I mean that in and of itself is pretty impressive. I mean Tony Gravely, for as many flaws as he has at the highest level, he can at least finish guys and was able to do that in a lot of his fights. Was not able to do that to Hodge. Hodge is a guy who was extremely active in 2021. Mm-hmm. He went 4-0 in MMA and also took 4 boxing bouts where he was 2-2. So he had 8, combat outings in that year. And the most recent one was last year in boxing where he was KO'd in the first round. And he is trading the big gloves for the 4 ounces once again here. In this one, I actually got to go with Rafael Militia. I feel like he just has just the certain upside about him where it's like he comes in having fought nobody and he finishes Marcus McGee in the first round. He starts as Justin Wetzel. I mean, I've just seen him do it to 2 good prospects in a row now, and I've been really impressed. So he opened up minus 500. That line has come in quite a bit. So obviously at that number, it's Hodge all day. I think now that the line's getting a little bit closer, I do have to favor the Militia side in this one. So I'm going with Rafael Militia to get it done in the main event.
Fair enough. Fair disagreement. I'm not betting this one at this point. Plus 105 on Hodge, minus 135 on Nascimento Militia. I don't know who set that opening line, but I mean, it happens. Just one more thing. I'm excited to see Coleman Scribner on the prelims. I always like Coleman. I think he got screwed in his debut, so I'm excited to see him. And he's at a plus 300. So being brought in here to lose to Liam. But either way, hopefully sometimes the LFA puts the prelims on YouTube or on. And Brian, this is not 2 cents face reveal. This is Lucky Locks. 2 cents is still behind an icon. I don't know what 2 cents even looks like. But Lucky Locks is here. Good to see you, Brian. But yeah, any other kind of thoughts on the card? Any overall thoughts on this weekend's UFC or any other thoughts from Lucky Locks here early in the week?
Yeah, man, I'll tell you what. If you don't watch LFA a whole lot and you're looking to start getting into some regional shows, I would say tune in on Friday night because this is one of the better cards that we've had in a little while. LFA normally does put on pretty good cards, but this one just in particular stuck out to me. And when I was looking at this card, I immediately DM'd you and I was like, I don't know, we might have to get a little reunion going.
Get the band back
together.
together.
Up about this one because we got some real good fights here, some real good prospects. I mean, it should be a really fun night of fights, and it's a big main card for LFA as well. We got, I think, 7 fights on the main card. So, yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to it. It should be a lot of fun. Best of luck to everyone. And Stubborn Mick, of course, I'm happy to be here. Whenever I am able to find the time. The thing is that I would do this every week, but I got work, we got other stuff going on, and I don't want to half-ass it and be here having not done the tape and kind of just topology cap in these fights. When I do come on, I want to make sure that I've done my due diligence and I'm giving out the best information that I can. So it was great to be back, great to chop it up. I definitely miss doing it, and we're definitely going to do it more in the future. And yeah, looking forward to this card and looking forward to doing more in the future.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. Well said. I mean, that's exactly, I'm always very transparent. I was transparent, here with the earlier fight, but when I'm not prepared on a fight, I'm gonna make that transparent, and I like to have people I can rely on. That's why I can count on people like Lucky Locks. Shout out to Lou, Betcha, and 2 Cents, the Wednesday UFC crew. We will be back tomorrow at 2 p.m. To break down UFC Cheeto Week. I'm not gonna hide what side I'm on with this, and that's fine if you're on the other side. It's all good. But the UFC breakdown show from San Antonio is tomorrow with Lou Betcha, who I believe is going to fights, and just my 2 cents. I will also be breaking down Cage Warriors 151 with a PFL Europe pick'ems at the end of that show tomorrow. And then that is going to do it, I think, for the coverage for the week. So tomorrow's the doubleheader. But thank you, Lucky, again for making the time. Always a pleasure to work with you. And definitely feel the similar on this card. I think this is a great card, aside from maybe that middle spot, but even that could be great. You never know. So peace out, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow for the double MMA breakdown, starting with the UFC breakdown at 2 p.m. Eastern. Peace out.